Motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Oh, I will second it.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay, so we have a motion from Keith and a second from Greg, and so we'll go through the roster for voting. So Keith obviously made the motion, Greg made the second. John Gunkel, how do you vote on the minutes?
Approve.
All right. Michael Hosey. All right. Donna Jones. Okay. Scott Miller.
We got a yes.
Okay.
Approve.
And Sharon Nelson.
Approve.
All right. So motion passes unanimously.
Okay, great. Thank you all. And Matthew had sent an agenda and also some links out. We had a lot going on this month in the community around cycling and pedestrian topics. So we were going to first talk about the pedestrian plan that Alta presented last Thursday, I think it was. I'm losing track of my days now. How many of you were able to attend that? I know I saw Keith and Greg, Michael. Did anyone go and review either the PDF? I haven't seen a video of that meeting posted yet. You did, John. Any just general comments or questions around that? Do you feel like they're on the right track? Were there things you felt like they missed? Any overview or thoughts you want to share from that?
I thought it was pretty well done.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with their work, and I've looked at their website and seen what they've done around the country, and I think that was a great partner for the city to find as the consultant on this.
I'd like to second that. Sharon is Alta does quality work and voluminous work as well. Their plan and their appendix are pretty good size. In fact, I wasn't able to read all of it. I'm usually, as Matthew knows, I'm sort of I'll read every word and comment on every word, but this time I was defeated in the fact that there was enough material out there. Excuse me, I didn't read everything on it, but I thought it was extremely well done. The graphics were clear and informative, and I couldn't have asked for a better product. So really, congratulations to them, and I hope it passes through the elected bodies as it goes through.
Yeah, there are some next steps with that, and Matthew, please correct me if I get these wrong, but it now goes, well, they're going to make some adjustments and updates and then reshare it, and it will go for public input and then go to the powers that be within the city and then to city council ultimately. Is that sort of correct?
That's correct, yeah. So based on some feedback from the steering committee, they'll make some changes here just to adjust to reflect those comments. And then we'll release the plan publicly, and we'll have about a month-long public input window. So we'll ask the public to provide their input on the draft plan, and we'll work with Alta then to incorporate those comments as necessary into the final plan, and then we'll have a final plan that we'll probably bring it back to this group, and then it will go to the Public Works Committee of the City Council, and then to the full City Council for adoption.
Okay. Any estimated time frame? I'm guessing that's at least 3 months out, 4 months out.
Well, so if we, within the next week or so, we should have the revised draft plan that will go for public comment, and that'll begin a month-long period. So by middle to end of April, I would think that month-long public comment period would be over, and then it's just a matter of getting on the agenda for Public Works Committee. So I have the schedule here. you know, whether we go to council in May or June, I would guess that would be an estimate. Probably June is more likely. But, you know, that there are a lot of steps in between now and then that, you know, there could always be delays, but that would be an estimate at least.
So from that plan, I think it guides us in a couple of ways in establishing our priorities, but I also wanted to touch on the series of Trail Summit meetings that Matthew had shared, and I don't know if, I think, Michael, you were on those one Friday as well. I thought that was really interesting information. This is, for those who did not look at that, it's Trail Summit, and I believe it's hosted by Piedmont Lands Conservancy. They do this every year. This is the first time I've attended. Actually, the virtual meeting makes it a whole lot easier for me to attend. And from the looks of the attendance, I would say that was probably true across the state. But they broke it out into 4 topics, so there's one each Friday. Last Friday was on trail funding, how to get funding for trail projects. And this Friday's topic I thought was really relevant also. It's the case for community health through trails, which I'm really interested in. Those are free if you have time. I think they're well worth attending.
Hey, Sharon, quick question. When you say trails, are you talking about like dirt trails, or are you talking about greenways, or anything?
Multi-use. So they talked about greenway funding specifically. There were grants under a state department for greenway funding. They talked about it's everything. It's all of the above.
Oh, okay. Can you send out a link to this?
I just posted it in the chat box, actually.
Okay, great.
To Piedmont Legacy Trails, and then also to the summit.
All right, great.
Any other comments for those of you who were able to attend that on the relevance, or if you participated in the past, is this year different, or I thought one of the curious things before we move on to our priorities, Matthew, was the change in nomenclature for the state. That they're now calling themselves the Integrated Mobility Division instead of having separate cycling, pedestrian, and other departments. I thought that was a really interesting change, and it really ties all of these pieces together. For me personally, and Keith, we've talked about this as well, we tend to divide ourselves by interest group, but we're all using the same resources. So I'd love to see more of that pulled together and connectivity across different groups, rather than kind of looking at things differently for hikers or walkers or cyclists and others. We're all using the same paths and trails and sidewalk cutouts and all of those things. So I thought that was an interesting change from the State Department of Transportation to change their name to be more inclusive and intentional around that. So from the pedestrian plan that Alta's been working on, which certainly includes cycling and accessibility, sidewalks, and all of those topics, what we wanted to do today, we'll just move on into kind of what I see as the meat of this meeting, was to talk through and try to establish maybe 3 short-term priorities. And if we can come to some agreement on what those first 3 action items would be, we want to set those up into a plan that Matthew will take to the city manager's office to say, hey, this is what this commission has said that they'd like to work on. Is this in alignment? Do you agree? So that we can then move forward into sort of the doing part. We've done a lot of learning over the past 5 months, a lot of presentation, a lot of information that we've been taking in, because we do fit under so many pieces of this umbrella. And so I think we're now at a point where we know enough about what our role is and what we're sort of tasked with and how we fit into funding and again, the pedestrian plan, the greenway plan, the cycling plan, all of these things that the city has put together. Let's come up with a couple of things that we can get started on and try to move forward. So we had asked you to kind of come prepared with some thoughts, and so I'll stop talking and let you all share if you did.
Well, I'll go first.
Great.
I'm not sure if it exactly fits into what your ask is, but three things that I've thought about is one is certainly from the bike friendly, go from the bronze to the silver as a goal. The walk friendly, at least let's get on the board. I don't think we're even on the board right now. Maybe we can get honorable mention if we, put our resources to that. And the third thing is really some kind of to pursue the Norfolk Southern, railroad trail that goes along Stratford Road. So I don't know if that's too high level or what you're looking for, but that's certainly three things that I've thought about.
No, I think that's great. And thank you for reminding me I omitted mentioning the bike-friendly plan. So Matthew had shared that. And we also now know the application date. So I think that's perfect, John. Thank you. Others?
Well, I thought that the plan was very well done. And the scoring system, seemed to help me kind of think through some of this. My thought on that would be perhaps a bit more granular and looking at maybe the top one or two projects that they went through all the scoring in each area of the city, and perhaps suggesting those projects go forward if we as a group think those are worthwhile, because it seems like they spent all this time looking at scoring these different projects, and I think using that to help us focus and perhaps suggesting one or two in each area for funding might be something to as at least a starting point. I mean, there were so many and so many good ones, and I just echo what John said about, boy, if we could have access to that rail line and do a rails to trails multi-use path, that would be phenomenal. From what I understand, that goes way out, and then there's another section that goes almost all the way up to Pinnacle, and boy, there would be a lot of use of that, I can tell you for sure. So those are my 2 cents.
Yeah, I agree. I actually took Monday off and went down to Durham and rode the American Tobacco Trail and then did the White Oak Creek Greenway into Cary. And Matthew has explained to me, again, correct me if I get this wrong, Matthew, in North Carolina, in some states, when railways were abandoned, that land reverted to public use. So it was already written into law. But in North Carolina, the land reverted back to private ownership. And so to piece together all the private owners along that defunct railway that we all look at and drool over would take a lot of work. But boy, it would be worth it, right? From a tourism perspective, a development perspective, a livability perspective, community health, I mean, all of those factors. But it would take a lot.
Yeah, just one comment about that. So the Norfolk Southern line is a little bit different in that Norfolk Southern hasn't abandoned that one. They still own it. So it's still within their ownership.
Okay. Donna, are you?
Just a quick question. I think all of these things, when I looked at the scoring for biking and some of the projects around, I'm wondering, there's so many things that we're talking about the rail, and that sounds like it's probably out of scope. I think we talked once before, and I apologize, I missed the last meeting, but the meeting before we talked about scope for this particular committee. Because with some of the things, it would take resources, and I'm not sure whether there are resources to do anything beyond, or are we looking at doing something where we would ask for more resources to focus in another place? And again, I apologize for missing the last meeting, but are there certain things that are in scope? I know last time that I was on the call, we were talking about communications, because it seems like still the community doesn't know, and what role this committee would play on kind of assisting with that. But just thinking about what is that thing, or what are the scope of things that we can start and we can actually see an impact on at the end.
I think those are great questions, Donna, and exactly what our conversation today was meant to be around.
Okay.
I think we can chime in on the plan that Alta has developed and agree with or counter the priorities that they've established.
Okay.
That's one place where resources will come from, is as the city council approves that final plan based on public input and other recommendations, that they'll prioritize also how those get funded over time. Michael brought up other people in the community who want to be involved, and once we establish these action items that we want to tackle, that may be part of it, that we may advocate for the city or try to find other partners who have additional resources outside of what we have. So you're asking the right questions. That's exactly what we're going to start looking at and talking about. And also I made a check mark beside communications, because I know that one has come up several times. And it's really key to safety, understanding how traffic laws impact safety, and educating drivers for better awareness, and educating the people out there walking, riding, running, so that they're aware also as part of it too. Spot on.
Yeah. One other thing, and I love Winston-Salem, but I have realized this week, I don't know where most of these places are, where many trails are and all. I know a handful of places to go, and and thank you for the Strava link. I was looking at that. So I'm definitely interested in any type of activity, whether it be virtual or real, where I can actually go and see what we actually have besides the 5 places I know.
That's a great point. I think we all do that, right? We have our routines or our neighborhood locations, and we get into those habits, but how awesome would it be to partner up and go explore other areas or do a community presentation? Yeah, I think that's a great point.
I'll make a comment just to let you guys know that we're talking with folks at Innovation Quarter, and they're wanting to get a community bike ride started probably once a month. So hopefully, as we probably May, maybe even April, we might be able to kick something off. But that'll be a good opportunity I'm not sure if you're familiar with Long Branch, and those are obviously the usual suspects: Long Branch, Salem Creek, Salem Lake. That's probably where a lot of the focus will begin. It's just such a nice resource, easy one. So I'll keep y'all posted on that.
Great.
That's great. And then also, I mean, Matthew, this might be a good time for you to mention Creek Week too. That link that Matthew had shared for the Strava Club is on Creek Week, which is coming up, and that also lends opportunity to share trail awareness.
Yeah, that's right. So, Creek Week is an annual event that the Stormwater Management Group department organizes, and their goal is to raise awareness about the health of our waterways, and because of the location of many of the greenways along creeks, there's an obvious tie-in then with the work that we do to encourage people to bike and walk, and what they're doing to try to raise awareness about those waterways. So We always have some kind of activity related to Creek Week. In the past, it's been a bike ride, maybe exploring some of the new trails that have been developed. This year, we formed that Strava group just to try something different, and in light of the pandemic, it seemed like a good opportunity. So yeah, please feel free to share that link in that group and get people connected to that, because the more people on that, obviously the better off it's going to be, because more people riding in different locations, people are likely to learn about different trails than the more people. So I will be posting information. I've posted a few things, a few items related to trail development in the city, but I'll continue to post about ways the existing trails connect and projects that are upcoming, and just more routes that people can use.
Thank you.
You may want to file this one in the brainstorm category, which I'm good at. But, it's funny, Donna, what you just said really struck a chord with me, because I'm a creature of habit and I tend to go back to the same places every time, and then always complain that I always go to the same places every time. Recently, participating on a virtual kind of bike training platform called Zwift. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. I saw a friend who completed every course that Zwift offers, and that was, I don't know, some award and badge. I almost wonder, just based on your comment, if we could come up with some way to, create segments throughout the city and sponsor some type of citywide contest, scorecard where folks log segments in each and every, ward of the city, and we expose people, give people a reason or an incentive to explore different areas. And if that in and of itself would kind of help with this whole communication engagement issue, which to me, it seems like every meeting I mention communication and engagement, but perhaps we could come up with some way just to get more people more plugged into more places.
I love that idea. I do. I look at, friends and where they ride. There are a couple of greenways that I just can't quite figure out how to get to, or even going down to, even going down to Cary, I had to ask in 3 different groups, like, it looks, tell me exactly where to park. Tell me exactly where to go, where does and doesn't have a bathroom, where, all of those types of things. That would be really fun, Keith.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, I'd be happy to throw my business, and I'm sure there are other businesses out there where we could, probably, you're not even raising funds, you're just it would benefit me to, give free shoes for people that did, the first 10 segments, anyway, that'd be fun and a community building effort.
I love that.
Okay. So as of now, I've got just in kind of bubbling up some potential priorities, getting on board and taking some action around the bike-friendly plan, that Norfolk Southern Railroad exploration, and communications, which could include this. Other topics, other thoughts, needs?
I'm just going to go back to the Norfolk Southern Rail Line, Matthew, and I don't know, I think it keeps bubbling up. Is there anywhere that summarizes like the history of conversations around that, so we don't go back and fall into traps that have happened before?
I can do some research, and I know there have been some private efforts doing some research. Some folks that I know have shared items that just some work that they've done. So I can try to summarize what's all been done and share that with the group.
That'd be great. I've heard different, rumors over the years, but who knows whether those are true or not. Any other thoughts on either priorities or ways to impact these priorities?
I love everything that we're saying. you know, when you talk about the designation from bronze to silver, there's 40 different items in that one kind of thought. So I guess that to me is there's a lot of hard action items within that to boost that. But you know, this application or this designation came in 2017, and there's been a lot of great work done since then. I kind of went through and just looked at all the areas, all the rating. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's a great one. That could take up, you know, all three of them if we wanted. Not that that's what I want, but I guess I just want to make sure that we're all aware that there's a lot of to make that happen from bronze to silver, which a lot's already happened. I think we would have to do a lot of action items working, you know, to do that. So.
Is it achievable?
Say that again.
Is it achievable in the time that we have? If we all work to get behind it and expand our network?
Matthew absolutely would know that question, the answer to that question a lot better than I would. But I know that there are lots of things that we could quickly impact. You know, the number of local bicycle-friendly businesses is 3. I mean, I think with a hard effort, we could probably get 40 pretty much right off the bat. Number of local bicycle-friendly universities. I mean, 0. We definitely have the opportunity to increase that. And those are just the first 2 things I look at that I think we can make a significant impact on a few items. There's some other things, bike facilities and infrastructure that, you know, are in the works and stuff has happened. But like say, you know, Matthew has a better finger on the pulse of what this looks like. And I think it's achievable to answer that question, but that's me leading with my heart and not my head. But yeah, I still believe that wholeheartedly. The cycling center has had a few conversations with that same direction with the rail line, and I'll make sure that I've dig all that information up with the folks that have had those conversations, and I'll just relay that to Matthew. That way he can kind of culminate any information that has happened in the past.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. So looking back at that bike-friendly plan, Matthew, is it, not to ask you to do a whole lot of extra work, but is it doable for you to put together kind of a, here's what we've done that's already done, and here's kind of a hot list of things that this group could work on? I mean, I could see all of us going out within our existing networks, which, you know, our circle of influence is much larger than what we see on the screen. Contacting businesses, letting them know what's necessary for them to have that designation. Yeah. You know, all of those kinds of things. I think communication around safety, that's a piece of the puzzle as well. So if that's already one of our priorities, and that also helps us knock out some of those targets for that plan, then that's kind of an easy, not easy, but it's a win-win, a logical win-win for us to be on. Any other thoughts, Matthew, on that? You think?
Well, I guess the first thing I would recommend is that people take a look at the bicycle friendly community application. It's a 56-page application, and they touch on pretty much everything from, you know, the programmatic side, the policy side, the public support, infrastructure, you know, really everything. And, you know, look through there. Some of those tasks are short term, are things that, you know, like encouraging businesses to apply for the bike-friendly business program or the university program. And some are just longer term development, so changes in infrastructure. You know, one of the things they're looking at through this application is how many miles of on-street bike infrastructure do you have? How many miles of trails? And clearly that's years in the making for those types of changes. So, you know, the group may just want to look at the application and assess, you know, what items you can impact in the short term, and what items are going to require kind of a long-term commitment from the city and from the community generally to see those changes. So that's probably what I have the application open right now, and just completing the application itself is a task. So I mean, I don't know if what you're interested in is working on some of the items that contribute to the application, or working on the application itself, and there's two different things there, certainly. So yeah, I would just raise that issue and have you all think about that as well.
Quick question: who completes this application for the city of Winston-Salem right now, and what's the time frame in which they do that?
So staff will do that. So I work on that along with staff from the planning department and the engineering department, and then we bring in staff wherever necessary. So there are questions even then in the application about our transit system, and do we have bike racks on buses, and there are questions for the police department. So I feel like Winston-Salem DOT, we're kind of the central the group that will submit the application, but then there are a number of different organizations that we have to reach out to get information. And the time frame, so we applied in 2013 for the first time, reapplied in 2017, and then in 2021 now we'll have to reapply. So it's a 4-year award. You have to apply at least every 4 years for your recertification. And I believe the deadline for the current period is in August. August 5th is the deadline.
Okay. I guess with that being said, based on, I'm thinking what Michael is saying, maybe because these are still going to be some of the criteria that need to be evaluated to make us a better biking city, if we could look at some of those things that could be short-term, that could be done before now and I guess July, yeah. So that it would impact our standings, maybe, that would, like you said, I mean, bike businesses, I don't know what it takes for a business to be bike friendly. So maybe it would be helpful to know what it takes for some of these subcategories to see how we then might support you as you're completing the application in August.
So I'm wondering, could we form, or if there are a few volunteers here who would be willing to take another dive into the scorecard from the last application, look at the current application, and I believe it's a website, right, Matthew, for the bike-friendly business certification. So there's information we could provide businesses.
That's right. Yeah, everything is through the League of American Bicyclists.
Okay.
And if you look at their website, I can post to the chat here.
Perfect.
Links to all of those different programs that they have.
So if we had 2 or 3 people who could look at that before our next meeting, and maybe come up with a hot list, and let's divide and conquer.
I'll volunteer to look at that.
Is that Michael too? And Michael, I know you've had some role in this in the past. Well,
Sharon, I'll be glad to dig into the business piece.
okay.
And I just want to let you know that Matthew did share with me that, like, a couple years ago, the Winston-Salem Cycling Advocacy Network, they had already generated like a really big list of potential businesses. So, that way we're not all spinning our wheels and reinventing the wheel. Let me just try to dig that up. And then, yeah, I mean, like I say, I guess we just need to formulate a plan, get the application or for those, and then come with a presentation to get people to sign up. Is that right, Matthew? They're going to have to sign up individually, businesses. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe, I've never submitted the business side of the business application, but I assume it's a similar application to what the city does, just on a smaller scale, and different questions, obviously, about what they're doing to encourage customers and employees to bike to that business. But I don't know that they may have a similar time frame, a similar cycle for when they accept applications and when they review them for the business side of things. So, as far as our bike-friendly community application, it may not be feasible to have businesses complete the application and get certified before July, really, when we would have to have that information. I just don't know. They may have a similar cycle where maybe their applications are due in August as well. I just don't know. But with a little bit of research, that's something we can easily find.
Sure, and even being able to say, if Cycling Advocacy Network knows that there are businesses who've submitted applications who are in the process of that kind of thing, I would think that would be supportive information for our application.
Matthew, this is John. I have a quick question. So what I'm understanding here is businesses certification or whatever is independent of the city application. Is that right?
That's right. So there's the bicycle friendly community designation, which is what the city would apply for. Then there's the bicycle friendly business application, which businesses would apply for. And then there's even the bicycle friendly university application, which those universities apply for. So they're all independent programs. I think when we submit our community application, though, one of the questions they ask of us is, how many businesses and how many universities in your community are bike friendly? So yeah, they are all independent applications, though.
Well, the incentive for a business to do it, they could put it on their, website or whatever, and it's basically it's just their own designation. And
that's
okay,
right.
I didn't realize.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
So I see June 10th as the deadline for the bicycle friendly business application.
Not to pile on, Matthew, but are we considering a walk-friendly designation, or is that just out of the question right now?
We've applied in the past, but we were not designated at any level. So
no, I understand.
Certainly reapply. Yeah.
But the fact that that we have a really comprehensive plan now, and we're making obviously significant progress, we may get the honorable mention category. I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't recall when we actually applied. So it's certainly worth investigating again, that application and seeing that effort again.
Right. I don't want to forget the pedestrian side of things. Right. So, all right.
Apart from just enjoying the benefits of actually qualifying for these designations, are there any tangible benefits to being certified or recognized, or is it just that, a recognition?
Keith, was that directed to me?
General. I'm just trying to think in terms of making an argument to pursue these things. Each thing that goes into that designation is a good thing in and of itself, but is there a win for having the designation in any way?
Yeah, I know. Among communities, it's something of a competition, and it's something that communities can use to market themselves, try to separate themselves and encourage businesses and people to move there. So, if you could show that the league has recognized you as a bike-friendly community, a lot of people may be looking for that kind of recognition in where they want to live and where they want to do business. So I think that's part of it. From the staff side, the part of the value is the evaluation that the league does of the community. So that, it's kind of a miniature planning process in a sense that they can help you identify where there are shortcomings and make recommendations about, what the community could do to improve. And, their application and the questions they ask are, they're geared towards, what's going to make it easier for people to bike in that community and what's going to encourage more people. So, the recommendations that they have line up with the goals that we have of encouraging more people to ride. So there's value in even that evaluation.
Does it have any influence on federal or state funding or grants?
It does not, no.
So you see it more, it's a baseline of where a livable, healthy community with good infrastructure, what that looks like.
You know, I would say that probably these, people looking to relocate to places, they're going to be looking at that. To corporations that looking for a workforce for their, have certain criteria. So, I mean, there's a 30,000 view perspective that we might not be considering that would impact just as a whole community as a whole.
Yeah.
And Sharon, I've posted a few of those links in the chat box if everybody has that chat box open.
Thank you.
Matthew, when you post those links to the chat box, I'm assuming those will also go in the minutes.
Yes, yeah, I can make sure those are included in the minutes.
Great.
So if the three of you don't mind connecting in between and maybe looking at the bike-friendly businesses, connect with cycling advocacy to see what they have done or what they are working on. I've reached out to Amy Easter, who's over the Cycling Advocacy Network. I have never met her somehow. But again, the meeting last Friday, the Trail Summit, I saw her name there, so shot her a note. And we're going to try to connect as well, just to see how we can partner. She said she was really excited to have this committee formed, and she connects with Matthew regularly, so I think it'd be great to partner with them. I think we can work on the bike-friendly plan. I think we can work on one of our roles. We've talked about being advocates and sort of in the extended arms of the city and Matthew's department. Once Alta releases this plan for public input, the pedestrian plan, if all of us could make sure that that gets shared widely and that we talk about it and invite people to participate in that month-long review process, I think that would be really helpful. One of the things they talked about in the steering committee meeting was particularly making sure that underrepresented groups are able to view that and provide comment. I love that the process that's being used really takes into consideration economic mobility and access outside of sort of the political influence. But it's also, there's a technology divide, and we still, I say we, being the global we, information still tends to get shared in a pretty tight circle. So if we can help extend that circle in any way through faith groups, your running, walking, cycling groups that you're part of, your own personal social media, I think that would be really helpful too once they release that. And we're all on those emails. I hope everyone's getting the emails from Jason Reyes with Alta, where they've shared the plan and those meeting invitations, so that we'll all have that to pass along as well. And then anything else, we're going to explore the railroad and find out what the history of that is. I think that's maybe a longer term goal. Shorter term, look at the bike friendly plan, the pedestrian plan that's coming out. Any thoughts around communication? I did have a question around communication, just sort of in the short term. A friend of mine recently moved from Winston-Salem to Hickory. She's a long distance runner and cyclist and an attorney, and has just been made a bike law advocate. And Bike Law is a nationwide organization of pro bono attorneys that really dig into advocacy around safety, particularly around road cyclists and traffic incidents. So I've been following their work and seeing a lot of the sort of crossover as awareness around that grows. The recent accident in Las Vegas is a great example. but also community groups who are advocating for cyclists to mount cameras and this kind of thing around road safety and just traffic safety and awareness for drivers. I don't think people in this state realize that pedestrians and cyclists have the right of way. It doesn't feel like that when I'm out there on a bike or walking all the time. And Matthew, you had shared some great graphics, I think that were from the State Department of Transportation. Can we get access to things like that to just go ahead and share or?
Certainly, yeah. Was it related to the Watch For Me NC program, perhaps?
Yes.
Yeah, I can send you links to the Watch For Me website, and they encourage groups to use their materials and spread that message.
We sort of see the. Go ahead.
I wanted to add a couple things, sort of obviously related to bike and ped, but one is, and that I don't know if everybody knows this, but Judy Wallace, who's a local and statewide legend in bicycle and pedestrian planning and development and education, is moving to Oregon here fairly soon. So she's been a long-time member of this community and is highly respected in the state and even in the country. And I thought it'd be nice, not necessarily have a party for her, but at least maybe do some sort of a letter of thanks from this committee that at least give some recognition to her longtime contributions, or Matthew, maybe have the mayor and the city council do some sort of a recognition of her. I don't know, like maybe a Judy Wallace Day or a certificate or something along that line. I think her moving is sad for me because she's been a long time friend of mine, but also extremely knowledgeable and has really been bedrock on getting things going here in the state and local. So I'd like to see something, maybe, I don't know what maybe specifically our committee would do, but maybe we would write something, maybe the city council would do some sort of a letter of appreciation or a little ceremony just thanking her for her longtime contributions. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the Martin Luther King Jr. Drive Streetscape project, as I understand, funds have been released for that. And the Public Works Director, Assistant City Manager Damon DeCane, indicated they have hired or in the process of hiring a consultant to finish up the design details of that. And there's obvious pedestrian and safety components of that, and to at least have our group be very much in support of that and maybe be involved in the final designs and implementation of that project. Maybe we do a specific little look through of to what they have come up with, and I don't know, maybe provide some additional comments. I don't know, but I think it would be good for our committee to have some participation with that. And the same with the multi-use path along Salem Parkway. Portions of the multi-use path have been completed, but there's other segments that are not totally funded, and there's at least one segment that's been sort of questioned as to whether it should be built or not. But to continue to show support for the multi-use path that goes from Baptist Hospital to downtown Winston-Salem is I think will be an important future link. And I think our committee can help shepherd this along and provide support for it. So without taking up everybody's time, but those are the three things that come to mind that I would like to at least put out there and have our group consider.
Thank you, Greg. I didn't realize that the Salem Parkway path was in question now, I guess. So I would love to have more of an update on that, get more information on that, as well as the Martin Luther King Streetscape project. I think both of those definitely fit in with our oversight or influence, whatever, support. We're at 10:01. I know we got started a little late, so if any of you need to drop off, feel free to do so. I think right now we have a couple of action items in between now and the next meeting. So I might add, so work on the bike-friendly, understanding the bike-friendly designation and what we can dive in on with that. I also second that on Judy Wallace. For those who do not know Judy, she has been in this community. I moved here in '94, and I feel like I've seen her, known her since that time. She wrote a book on local trails, biking. I know she's been really involved in the Safe Routes to School and other projects around town. I'd love to see a mayor declaration in her honor or something like that. I think that'd be great. When is she moving, Greg?
I don't know the exact time frame. I'd heard from a friend of mine that it was going to probably be later this spring or summer. She, as far as I know, I think she's putting her house on the market here, so it's getting ready to happen here pretty soon, one way or the other.
Okay. I'm not sure what's involved in getting a proclamation. It may be as simple as a web form, but I'd be happy to help do that if someone else wants to. That would be great.
Yeah, I was going to say the bike book that she co-authored with Putman. I don't know, I use this as a resource all the time. It's called Great Bike Rides in and Around Winston-Salem. I think it was published quite a few years ago, but it's a great resource.
That's great.
Greg, thanks for sharing that. The Safe Routes to School program, I was just thinking how we could do like some type of certificate of outstanding achievement that maybe we just get with PE teachers, and maybe they pick a couple kids that really shined in the program, and, you know, the Judy Wallace certificate of achievement type thing. So I like that. I just kind of sparked that real quick idea, and that'll be, we can easily do that.
That's a great idea. She'd like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else? Quick tasks? It's a good discussion. I really appreciate all the time and all the thoughts that you guys have brought to the table. Keith, I'm going to dig into, I don't know how you create a badge on Strava, but I really like your idea of knocking off all the local greenways for a badge and setting that up over a specific time frame. I don't know how hard it is to set that up or what you have to do, but I think that's a really fun idea.
I think in conjunction with that, I'm kind of sketching together a little bit of an outline of something that we can use our little run community to do. But I think the Strava thing would be cool. I might do something locally. And then I just want to put in a pitch. I'm gonna prop up Matthew here. He's going to do a Zoom call with our We Run Winston Run community on April 6th, where we're going to kind of talk about the pedestrian plan for one, and just going to kind of, we do a monthly, it's been Zoom. Hopefully, usually it would be in person in our store, but we're going to recruit our run community kind of come and do a presentation about, just in the interest of the communication topic, spreading the word about this committee, about the plans that are out there. So that'll be at 7 p.m. on April 6th. I think I have that right, Matthew. I'm shooting from the hip a little bit, but any of you guys want to join, I'd certainly love to be able to introduce you and kind of talk about the work of the committee, again, in the interest of making sure the public is aware of what we're doing.
Thanks.
Keith, is that going to be at Fleet Feet or is that going to be on Zoom?
It'll be on Zoom this time around. Our hope is ultimately we'll be able to go back to in person, but at this point we can't.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you all. Really appreciate it and looking forward to seeing some of these things move forward. In the interim, feel free to reach out to us in between meetings. We're not locked into 1 hour a month. And I think especially as we build out some of these ideas, we can start forming some work groups and taking action on things outside of our regular meeting times. Scott, it's great to meet you. Glad you were able to be here, and same thing, reach out anytime with ideas or comments.
Thanks. Nice to meet all of you as well. Thank you.
All right. With that, we will wrap it up until April. This year's already moving faster than last year. Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Have a great week. Enjoy the sun.